Live tonight from the virtual Bristol Motor Speedway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to LSR TV's coverage of the 2019 Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series, powered by Sim Racers for Mental Health, for the Bristol Night Race, round number 21 on this 2019 campaign. And as always, on a Monday night, so happy that you're joining us here at your home for sim racing at the iRacing Esports Network. As always, myself, Evan Posoko, Justin Prince, up in the booth with you this evening. Our director downstairs is Brett Wheeler, bringing us to you across the airwaves tonight. And Justin, we come off of an exciting race that it's owed to regards just a week ago at Michigan International Speedway. Connor Horn, one of the hottest drivers in the last couple of weeks, picked up his third win of the season, but it is starting to get really serious now because we have three incredibly difficult racetracks coming up. It is the third to last race of the regular season, and it's Bristol, so who knows what we're about to see.
Absolutely, this is a very tough racetrack to say the very least. We have only seen one repeat winner since 2016 and David Washington at the circuit. That's how tough it is to try and win in this series at this racetrack. And it's one where you're going to have very high speeds, multiple different potential lines, and a lot of potential traffic to work through that could come into play multiple times and then some tonight. And that doesn't include, of course, the possible attrition that could be a major factor in a lot of different drivers' championship hopes with how close we're getting to the postseason cut line.
Yeah, Bristol scares away about 6 or 7 cars that we're used to seeing onto the racetrack. So, of course, the 25 or so that are in competition tonight, all going to be fighting. I'd mention that it's, a critical point in the season because it is the third to last race of the regular season. You mentioned that rate of attrition. I guarantee it that not all the cars that start this race are going to be able to make it all the way to the end. And let's talk about the championship implications in that, Justin. 3 races left. Our top 10, though, in the points are locked in. They can still go for wins. That'll translate into bonus points for the round of 16. But we can tell you that Andrew Ferdinand, Eric Stanford, Connor Horn, Thomas George, Kyle Kamer, Jason Jacoby, Brian Chambliss, Jonathan Cadell, Skylar Shackelford, and Rhett McBride will all be competing in the 2019 playoffs. 11th on back, it gets a little bit more interesting. The likes of Brotherton with a chance to mathematically lock tonight. Jeremy E. Miller, Jeremy Rittenberg, Andrew T. Jones through 14th. But then it starts to get really tight. Anthony Fredericks is 7 points up on the cut line. Scott McClendon is the cut line in 16th. He's only 5 points ahead of Shane Parrish. Below him, Brad Bohr, only 11 back. 14 back for Dylan C. Jones. So there are a lot of drivers, about 7 or 8 realistically, fighting for 3 or 4 spots here over the course of tonight. And then, of course, the following 2 rounds, Darlington next Monday night, and then Indianapolis middle of September.
3 very different tracks, mind you, on the schedule for this postseason, before heading to the postseason, rather. Of course, the short track racing at Bristol. The old-fashioned tough racing at Darlington. That will be a lot on the tires. And, of course, Indianapolis, which could be a wild card with the new drafting package. 3 very different tracks, but of course, first things first, for those drivers looking to try and punch their tickets into the postseason, they gotta tackle Thunder Valley tonight. They're all set to go, I think, Evan, for tonight's racing.
Yeah, they got to survive the next 200 laps. Let's go trackside and take a look at tonight's LSR TV starting grid. And here's no shocker, 9-time winner this season, Andrew Ferdinand on pole position. His 14.402, the best of them all, by 0.02 of a second to beat out Dylan C. Jones for the pole. So the 03 car, 19th in the points, outside of the front row. Good start for Jones. We'll see what kind of noise he can make. Behind him, Rhett McBride. That's a sharp look at number 5, Chevrolet. He'll start 3rd position tonight. Shane Parrish alongside him will roll from 4th. And Jason Jacoby, a top 5 car. That's the inside of row 3.
On the outside of that set row, it's a 2-time winner in the past couple years, David Washington of this racetrack. He won the night races in 2016 and 17 at Bristol. Kyle Kamer will fall behind in row number 4 alongside Jonathan Cadell to round out the top 8 starting positions. Jeremy E. Miller starts in 9th with Eric Stanford rounding out the top 10 starting positions.
Andrew T. Jones come into tonight only about 11 points out of the number 16 spot. He is above the cut line. He starts P11. Scott McClendon alongside him as well, rolling from 12th. Brad Bohr starting 13th position this evening. Caleb Weekly alongside him at 14th spot. And it is Blake O'Connell scored P15.
16th spot, Thomas J. George. He was one of the fastest cars in practice, not so fast in qualifying in that 16th place start. The drivers behind him, though, in 17th and 18th. The point racing machine of Nicholas Caldwell was Scott Brotherton. Needed a good finish and just 1 point to lock himself in. Starts in 18th. The last driver to record a time is Sean Kalis, with Skylar Shackelford, the first driver not to record a qualifying time.
And to continue through the provisionals, Brian Chambliss will start 22nd tonight, Anthony Fredericks 23rd, and Jeremy Bazemore continued on through at about the 24th position. Rittenberg's actually going to be scored 24th. Todd Novosad 25th. Matt Miller in the number 26th position. Bazemore shotgun on the field, although it does not look like he's going to make it to the grid. So 26 cars ready to rock and roll from Bristol. Of course, 200 laps at the Bullring tonight, Justin, but the means we're racing for just a little bit over 100 miles. It is by far and large the shortest race of this 2019 campaign, but that does not tell the tale of the tape. It is going to be a rough one as they race around this 30-degree banked oval, which makes Bristol so famous.
Yeah, these speeds these drivers carry too is going to be tremendous here. It puts a lot of wear on the equipment as well. And expect, I think, a lot of the fastest drivers tonight to try and mitigate to the bottom quickly in the first 30 laps of the run. It'll take a little bit for the top line tonight to come in. But overall, these drivers will be going near full throttle around this racetrack into corner entry and trying to battle a very loose race car. As we were talking pre-race, throttle control could be very key on corner exit with how the setup is for tonight for these drivers. Question is, though, which driver will conquer tonight here at the Last Great Coliseum? We're about to find out, Evan. It's going to be a great one, I think, tonight.
Pace car is going to dive down it in, and it is Andrew Fridage's field to control in the Hellman's Ford Mustang as we get set to go at it from Thunder Valley. Let's go racing at Bristol. Green flag in the air at a turn 4. We're off and away for lap 1 of 200. Lap traffic going to be a big factor. So if you're outside the top 10, get on it because Fredinars will be back shortly. Top 5, single file out for the first time. The 18 car of Paris trying to get to the inside of Jacoby. Can't do it, so they figure it out up front. Now here comes McBride to the inside. It's a fight for second, but it's going to be difficult for the inside to carry the speed off the corner.
Yeah, especially in the early going. Yes, you can carry a lot more corner and apex speed, but if you can't clear by the corner exit like Dylan C. Jones was able to keep side by side, you're able to get that momentum on the outside and complete the pass. So while you want to be on the bottom, I think, for if you're on your own, if you're in a side-by-side battle, the outside line is the defensive line and the line where you might have to make the passes work in the later going. That has allowed Jones and Jacoby to move up to second and third. Trouble for Stanford behind, though.
So far, so good. As you can see, green flag still in the air, and these drivers trying to figure out their spots in line. Couple of cars already getting up and into the outside wall as Fredinage is pulled away. Stanford gets back rolling. The 19 car was the one that had gotten into the inside wall. Now more contact. Sean Kalis with problems. The 43 is slow. He got sideways, ended up down onto the apron, and now there is a caution flag.
So a lot just happened. First, the Stanford moment I mentioned with the inside wall. Then Kalis nearly wrecked and came back on the track in front of the leaders. The caution, though, was for Brad Bohr, as you'll see on the replay. He was running in the top 10 trying to run the high line, but it's so easy with how the cars are set up for tonight's race to just lose it on corner exit with how much is loaded up on the rear tire. He locked it up immediately, though. Still, however, stops on the racetrack. Is lucky not to get any more type of damage on that machine. First caution, though, comes on about lap 5.
Yeah, Scott Brotherton in the 20 did get in there and tag him a little bit later, so Brotherton going to be forced to pit road, but I do think he is very fortunate that the damage is not worse than that. Bristol, self-cleaning racetrack, you tend to slide down the hill into traffic, so I think that's why he locked it up. So kind of 30 incidents there, all within about a lap and a half of each other. Finally brought out the yellow, and it is an early caution here at Bristol. Race leader is going to go down to the pit lane, showing you that they think tires are going to be of the utmost importance. No tire limit, so expecting them to come in and out often and drag race off of the pit lane that time. The 03 car, Dylan Jones, with a valiant effort. But Fredinage, the #1 pit stall, reigning supreme here at Bristol, and That's because basically that pit road exit line, Justin, is about a half a foot outside of his pit box. So pole position going to pay dividends a lot for the 88 car tonight. If he was even one pit stall further back, I think Jones would have got him.
I think potentially too. Heck, pitting on that full entire front stretch, Evan, is going to be extremely important throughout this entire next couple weeks or so here on the iRacing Esports Network. Because if you're on the back stretch, you won't get a black flag like in 2018, I will admit. But it's still a situation where if you don't get out early enough, you lose a lot of track position. There's a couple drivers that are in that situation. Guys like Jeremy Rittenberg will have to pit on that backstretch tonight and will potentially lose a lot of track position each time. Will make it much more tougher as this race progresses. The one thing to note, though, on top of that, Evan, 5 drivers elected to stay out on the racetrack.
Friedrich first off for the pit lane to P6 in line. Jacoby becomes your new race leader. Kyle Kamer second, with Caleb Weekly third. Thomas George fourth. Todd Novosad fifth is the current running order. And, you know, to the point that you mentioned about the pit lane, there is a front stretch pit lane and a backstretch pit lane. In typical NASCAR competition, under green flag conditions, you could pit on just your side of the pit lane. Under caution flag, you would be forced, say in the Monster Energy Series, to go through both. Unfortunately for these guys at the iRacing service, you only need to take care of your pit lane. So Jacoby and those other guys who stay out, no problems for them. For Friedrich and the company who did pit, they only had to worry about their side of pit road. So that's another factor in how critical qualifying position can be. The last great Coliseum. I'm expecting the lanes to go out on top of the pace car this time through. We'll see if they do, and yes. So it'll be 11 laps down when we get set to go back green. Let's see just how important those tires are. Those who pitted stayed pretty much on strategy. 4 tires, P6 on the back. Let's see if these cars up front can make some noise. Jacoby Kamer stayed out for the top 10, Justin, but Weekly 14th to 3rd, George 16th to 4th, and Todd Novosad from 25th to a top 5 spot. It'll be interesting to see what they have.
They're banking, I think, in part on a quick caution as well as hoping for track position. The problem is, if it goes green, the tires will equalize eventually. But for the first few laps of the run, they're going to be potentially at least off about a 10th or so to everybody else on the 4 fresh feel goods.
These cars down it in, and it is going to be an early release for Jason Jacoby as green flag flies. We're back underway at Bristol. Top 2 single file. The fight's for 3rd. It'll go to the outside of Thomas George. Friedrich going to follow him through. Both these cars trying to get around the 10 Weekly. And look at Friedrich trying to sneak to the outside of the 9 car. He'll make it happen now and use those fresh tires to fight for the top 3 already. Wants to run off with the corner. Got him as George bobbled.
McBride also bobbled just behind him, his teammate, in fact, so drivers already getting loose. But that's the risk you pay even when you'd have to stay out for the track position. There's the chance on those tires you're going to be a little bit more slippery compared to your competitors. And George is nearly losing on the corner exit. He's now trying to run the middle to bottom line to compensate and try and get some speed as they continue to fight behind him.
And a battle for second is on now. Friedrich is going to go to the inside of Kyle Kamer after the 8 car came up off of the corner to take the top line away. I still don't think it's going to be enough, and Easy does that on the inside with a fresh rubber. Friedrich now P6 to P2. He's gained 4 spots into 4 laps. Some lap traffic down low, going to stay out of the way. He now has a 1 second difference to race leader Jason Jacoby. Watch the intervals between the top 2 to see how he's doing.
Yeah, right now it's going to slowly creep on down. I think the tires will eventually equalize, yes. But again, Friedrich will be a bit better on this short run, I believe, if he can catch up. Remember, though, there was a difference in driving styles last time. When it got a bit cooler, it went into Jacoby's hands when we were in the day race. The night, when it got a bit hotter, it went in towards Friedrich's hands. And with this racetrack and how quick these cars run, the track temps usually shoot up a lot by about 20 laps into the run.
And it also probably helped that, of course, racing under the lights at Bristol not going to be as bad as it would be, say, earlier this season, where, by the way, Jason Jacoby took home the checkered flag.
Has brought up the caution flag, crashing. He was in 7th spot, and I think he hit the back end of Caleb Weekly, and as he was trying to check up, lost the back end of his car to bring up the second yellow flag on the track. Andrew T. Jones also got spun, Evan, in a secondary incident.
Yeah, the 5's really lucky that there's not a ton of damage, but you mentioned the 10 car. That's really where it started. Caleb Weekly got sideways, and it was the 5 getting into the back of him, just trying to actually stay off of him, but locked it up, and that's how McBride gets the front-end damage. He then got spun down to the inside, and was relatively okay. Everybody else, at least in that part of the racetrack, was able to get on through. So not always do you get a car sideways in front of a big pack like that off of a race start and get away with it. That time, I think we did. A couple of cars get some minor damage, scrape it up against the wall, but that on-board shot with McBride, I think, told the tale the best.
Yeah, I absolutely told the best there. You seen it with that bobble from Weekly. Just nowhere for him to go, and as he's trying to get off the gas and get off the bumper, he just lost that control. He'll take the end of the longest line penalty with that situation, but it's Bristol. You're going to eventually make contact with somebody that time. Just nowhere for him to go, essentially, to try and avoid the back end of the 10 machine. So again, back under caution, just 22 laps in. The interesting thing is, though, Jacoby has elected to stay out on his tires. Everybody else has taken their track position and went to get 4 fresh tires instead.
And Friedage back down to the pit lane and out, so 4 more tires for him. Jacoby looked pretty good out there as far as not losing time. Of course, now the advantage to Friedage, which was slowly getting less and less by the lap as they both started to wear down, now resets, and the 88 is going to be significantly faster. Does have track position to work around. Dylan Jones up into the number 3 position. The car that started second also stays out. So does Shane Parrish, who goes to second spot. So 3 cars electing to stay out. I am surprised, though. If I'm Jacoby, I would have taken the 4 spots gained, pitted, and gone from there, but maybe he feels like the clean air really is a benefit. And I think, Justin, at most tracks, when we talk about clean air, we'll be talking about getting away from the chaos. Not really at Bristol. Maybe for 5 laps, 10 laps, you can get a run in of that distance. But here, you're going to be in lap traffic all night long if you get a green flag lap. And at no point, if you're battling with cars for position, if you're a lapped car battling with somebody, or if you're a lead lapper trying to pass somebody who's 2 seconds a lap slower than you, at no point are you ever safe on a racetrack at Bristol, because things can happen so quickly at a racetrack so tight that there's nowhere to go oftentimes.
Yeah, it's hard to check up. We've seen that with that last incident first off, but second, with the where you need to figure out what the traffic is, it's going to be potentially different from each car by car basis. Let's say those cars are battling side by side. That could potentially lose you up to a second a lap depending on how long it takes for you to cut through the traffic. Some lap drivers might prefer to stay on the high side and give you the bottom side, or vice versa. So it's going to be extremely difficult. And it's not just going to be about, okay, who's the fastest car on the track from green flag to checker flag. It's going to be the one who's going to be the fastest to get through the said traffic and not lose tons of time to be able to take the win today, as well as avoid the carnage and potential attrition.
Lights out on the pace car. Let's see if Jason Jacoby is able to get off and away once more. The 3 car in control of the field at a quarter 4. He'll hold it back a little bit longer this time. It's a good restart as we go back green at lap number 25. And what is Friedage going to do? They're side by side in front of him. But Dylan Jones going to win out over Parrish. Parrish not a good exchange in 1 and 2. He'll lose a couple of spots as David Washington gets on by him also. So top 5 negotiated for the moment. Jones comes off for the ball. Here's Friedage to the inside. First car on 4 fresh tires. Already up to P2. Doesn't pull up in front of the 03, but Jones will let him go.
Yeah, Jones is now just going to let a couple of his teammates, I believe, go here and just keep things calm, try and save the tires a touch until he gets a little bit more comfortable, because you never know when the next yellow is going to be. But look how much time they're already gaining because of Jacoby staying out on those now 10-plus lap old tires, essentially on the racetrack. They're about 1/10 of a second quicker each time by, and Jacoby's now using them with high to middle line. Everybody else behind him is trying to run that bottom and gain that time on corner entry to reel back in the number 3.
We'll see if they are able to bring him back in to keep him honest, or if Jacoby is going to be able to run away with this one. Friedage down to 0.3 of a second as the top 2 look like they're both pulling away a little bit. So very good considering the tires for the 3 of Jacoby up front. No shocker that, of course, he won the earlier Bristol race. Justin, you talk about how hard it is to be consistent at this racetrack. Well, he may be the model of consistency so far this year, but Friedage is coming. Race leaders lap Jonathan Goodell, the number 69 car, falls to 2 laps down. He's on the bumper now for the battle for the race lead. Jacoby stays high. It's Friedage to the inside.
And I think Freenach might be able to get it if he can close up. The problem is, you seen that bubble there. It's tough to get off the corner from the bottom to complete the pass because you lose so much grip on the exit with how the car feels. So it's going to take a bit of throttle control and timing and potentially multiple laps, of course, to set up this pass to get the job done. You can see he's having some trouble. Well, Washington nearly slipped into the inside wall and had to let Jones on by.
And the 98 went way down to the apron to hang on to that one, so Dylan Jones takes the position back. Jones actually lost that spot, but it let Freenach go, and Washington jumped on him, so maybe that returns the status quo. And you can see up front there's no shocker here. It'll by Jacoby staying on the outside as he's making the 88 car work those tires in a lot harder on the inside. We saw the 88 of Freenach actually make a couple of passes down here on the inside off of the restart because the tire advantage made that an option. But there is no doubt that it is harder working on the bottom, and the three cars kind of coaxed him into it by leaving the inside line wide open, hoping the 88 burns up the rubber, and they kind of equalize sooner rather than later.
Yeah, then right now, again, while it's been about 20-plus laps between the start of the race and where we're at essentially now for the restart, rather, those are still 10-plus lap difference on the green flag. I think it's going to take a little bit longer for those tires to equalize. And what Jacoby's trying to do is get Freenach to burn up his equipment. Normally, Freenach is known for trying to do the opposite, force the driver in front to do so. But he's in that situation where it's so difficult to pass that he can just dictate how Freenach tries to go. And look at what's in front. A lot of traffic that he's going to be able to use his picks to have that bottom go away while cars spin in front.
The car on the apron there, but it's not going to come up in front of the race leaders. That's what you talk about when you want to be concerned. It is Anthony Fredericks who is slow and damaged. He comes back up. He's fine. And now your race leaders have a car low and a car high. So they'll go on the outside of the 64. They'll go to the inside. And there's no room for Freenach. Oh, and a wreck behind. Lapped car trying to get too far out of the way. And a caution on the front straightaway for Andrew T. Jones.
And that was coming, I think, right now with the way that was going. 3 wide lap traffic. Very difficult to do, and you can see Freenach just had nowhere to go with the checkup, and Jones was just trying to give Freenach as much room as possible, knowing that was the battle for the lead. The problem is, though, when you get that low off of turn 4, it's been an issue throughout the entire week on the service. You end up snapping loose just like that, and as soon as it starts hooking left, you're just a passenger, and you're eventually going to slam the wall. That time it ricocheted him onto the racetrack and ends up bringing the caution flag out once again. But it saves Jacoby, I think, because now he's going to have the chance to get on fresh tires rather than have to battle with older tires compared to everybody else.
And he finally does come down to the pit lane. Freenach follows him. So let's see if they both go for 4 tires. I know Jacoby certainly needs him. It's not number 42, but it is the first time that Jay Jacoby, number 3 machine, has been on a pit road all night long, and he does. He goes for rights, lefts, 4 tires. Let's watch the race off for the pit lane, see if Freenach can snatch it away. Yes, he does on the inside again with that number 1 pit stall. It varies at some racetracks. Some racetracks, it's not even worth it, but those green cones on pit lane are literally at the exit of his box. And again, in any other pit stall, he would have lost the race lead. Instead, he takes the race lead away. So critical. Find a pole at Bristol. Second time in a row, the 88 car leads off of the pit lane simply because of where he was stalled.
You mentioned it earlier before that importance. Exactly, you've seen that case once again. Just get in the gas, get back going. Back he goes, and now he's back to the race lead, essentially. Now it's going to be interesting how he dictates this from here, because his fastest lap is about a tenth of a second quicker, actually, so far, than the rest of the field so far, and he has won at this racetrack before in 2018, when there was just the one event at Bristol in the series. So he has some experience at this racetrack, and of course in Victory Lane. Now it's going to be a matter of, can he try and do the job here? Remember, he finished second in the spring with this package.
For the first time as well this evening, we don't have a handful of cars staying out. Frenage won the race off of the pit lane. It's the first time. That means he'll actually get to be the control car. So Jacoby will be forced to the outside of the front row, and we'll have an opportunity to watch these two duel. There are a couple of cars in front of your race leaders right now. Those are cars just simply looking for wave-bys. So Brad Bohr staying out. He'll go from 3 laps down to 2 laps down. Todd Novosad, Jonathan Cadell, all staying out to stay on the lead lap, so they'll get waved around at a race start next due up. At about quarter distance, we'll see 20 of the 25 cars who started this race still scored on the lead lap. Couple of incidents early. I think that is to be expected here at Bristol Motor Speedway, but no awfully critical incidents so far. We'll see what's to come. Again, already almost quarter distance through this Bristol night race.
Yeah, there's already a lot of drivers that have got some type of damage, have to admit already, with some type of contact in this one. Guys like Cadell, Novosad, McClendon all had near scares on that last run. But at this track, you're eventually going to get some type of damage with just the nature of the beast, so to speak. The thing is, you have to make sure you don't get significant damage. If you hit, say, the right front fender, that can make it even more loose for these drivers. So it's going to be important to minimize the amount of damage you build up as this race continues.
Let's see what the 88 machine can do out in front. Green flag back of the air. Frenage will pull a healthy 5-car length advantage. Now the battle for second. Jones almost clear of Jason Jacoby, but a 3-car keeps the nose side by side for second, and it's Washington watching on from P4.
Yeah, it looks like he's trying to follow the hole, actually, to where Jacoby's running, and trying to hope that if he can get Jones to lose momentum off the corner, he'll be able to also take the high side. Have to see if he elects to do that. No, it looks like he's going to give Jones the space instead and tuck back in so they can dive back to the bottom, as Jacoby's the one of just 2 drivers in the top 5 that have mitigated quickly to the top, making just one of top 5 now.
He's way up to the outside while Jones is low.
Hold on a second. Parrish nearly caused a big one in the backdrop, Evan.
It was the 18 car who got sideways. He had a little bit of help, a bump to the back end from the 5 of McBride behind him. They were able to hang on to it as they went 3 and 4 wide to try to stay into the gas, and somehow they're okay. Still some 3 wide. Parrish backs out of it, I think just trying to catch his breath and hit the reset button as it was calamity at the back half of the top 10.
And Brett McBride got some more front-end damage, I think, from that, too. So
45, Brian Chambliss spinning. Caution flag is out. And what a save for that car as he locked it up, Justin. He was right in front of this. Was still in that battle that we were watching, or kind of watching him pick the pieces up on. Chambliss was P10. He just lost it on the outside line. And a couple of cars slapped to get around it. But how about Skylar Shackelford barely squeezing by? I don't know how that 45 car didn't get blown up.
Yeah, Shackelford got a little bit of damage, I have to say, with the back end of Parrish, giving him a shot. The thing is, though, that shot, while it's going to be significant damage, might have saved Shackelford a little bit and gave him just enough momentum to carry him past Chambliss before he pushed back up towards the bottom line. So absolutely scary incident, all caused essentially by I think Chambliss just trying to push the car and end up losing the back end, because some of the drivers, the fastest way around isn't even involving hitting the brakes with this amount of downforce on the track. And you see the consequences if you aren't comfortable with going full out or just letting the car coast on entry.
The race leader is back onto the pit lane, but I think Jason Jacoby started something. He was the first car to stay out from second as Frenage gave up the race lead, but he convinced 4 of the top 10 cars to stay out with him. So while Jacoby goes to the point, Dylan C. Jones is second, Nicholas Caldwell third, Caleb Weekly to P4. Those were all top 9 cars when the yellow flag came out. They're going to become the top 4. We'll see if anybody else further back also decided to stay out, as scoring will update this time through with a couple of lap cars now just being given access to the pit lane, and it does look like it is going to be just those 4 who stay out, and Frenage slots into 5th position, again leading on 4 tires for the rest of the field who came down.
Yeah, it looks like he's expecting to eventually get a long run, and that's the main thing. If we eventually get one, if you're those 4 drivers, you can have the tires equalize all you can, but you're going to lose a lot of potential time and be much more looser, say, on the 1 through 30 part of the restarts. So I think Frinosh is just banking on, if there's an eventual green flag run, he wants to have the freshest possible tires to try and push on forward so he doesn't get into a bad situation, and just in case, say, those 4 drivers start losing a lot of time in these next few moments.
They pace around, 21 cars still on the lead lap, so a lot of the drivers, what you'll notice, maybe in this race more so than others, is if they get beaten up a little bit, they're going to stay out there and try to fight through it. A racetrack that maybe lends itself to race it with a little bit more damage than some of the bigger intermediate and 2-mile plus racetracks. Of course, with this package, it'll slow you down, no doubt, and front-end damage, if you knock the radiator out of it, it's going to hurt any time, but a lot of drivers toughen through it with the battle wounds of Bristol, if you will, and of course, working lap number 55 of 200 hour. Long way to go still in this Bristol night race, Justin, but based on what we've seen, I would think that this race isn't going to be one, as the lights go on top of the pace car, that just magically breaks out into 100 laps of green flag action. I think that we're going to see a lot of the stop and start, pitch strategy on and off, and obviously Jacoby's starting a movement here. Again, those top 4 on old tires, we'll see how they fare.
I wasn't trying to say we would go to 100 laps. No, I don't think there's going to have that possibility with how many cars are going to potentially get loose. I think it's more realistic to see potentially even a 50-lap run potentially break out. The thing is, though, drivers need to settle down and make sure they control the back end of the race cars to be able to have that shot as we get ready to get back racing.
Race cars down it in. The 3 car knows this procedure. Green flag back in the air. 56 laps down now. Jones stays with him comfortably in second. Oh, and a car to the outside wall. It's Cale Weekly. The 10 car into the fence. He'll hang on to it too. They all get by on the inside. And so far, so good. Top 10 as Freinage now gets around to Caldwell, moving into third.
And that's really unfortunate with Weekly. The reason he went all the way up to the fences, I think Washington just barely tapped the left rear part of the back bumper. That got him out of shape and just pushed him up. But we stay green and we stay keeping on going as Freinage is attacking for second.
And again, the 03 of Jones knows what he's doing. Same thing that we saw Jacoby do to hold off the 88 at an early run, and that is hang out on the outside, keep your speed, wind it up through the corner, get your runs off, and make the 88 eat up those tires on the inside line. And the 88, at least at the moment, is willing to play that game as the top 3 are broken away. He's actually struggling to make up time, losing time on the top 2, as Jones now maybe sights his sets on Jason Jacoby to fight for the race lead.
Yeah, and you can see right now some of the differences. I think Jones is actually a little bit touch quicker on Apex compared to what Jacoby's running. Take a look at the differences in lines there. Jacoby's trying to diamond a little bit on that top line to get away from the wall, then push up on Apex, then try and diamond off. Jones is trying to be a little bit much more against the fence. The problem is, though, it's not working. He's now having a bet wet by Washington on by as Freinage is now trying to run down Jacoby in front. 3/10 of a second.
Not much of a battle. David Washington makes easy work as Jones. So just as I mentioned that maybe he'd found something here, he drops way off of the pace of Jason Jacoby to P4. Washington up to third. Freinage fourth, just 2.5 car lengths off. The 98 car as well. Washington following the 88 through on the inside line. Again, David Washington, same strategy call in all of this as the 88 machine under the caution flag. David Washington was down to the pit lane, got his 4 tires and fuel, was the top 5 car. He's the highest he's been now all night long, and watching side by side for the race lead as Freinage got a nose that time but wasn't able to capitalize.
And you again can see how difficult it is, even with fresh tires, to get by a driver with just this small of a difference in tire wear. You need to essentially clear by the apex to be able to complete the pass for position when you try and run that bottom side. And if you can't carry the momentum like Freinage is struggling to do on corner exit, it's hard to even set yourself up to attempt to do so. So it's going to be a bit of a struggle for these next 20-30 laps. He just has to keep on working on it, because the main thing with that top line of it is, while it's faster now on exit, it chews up that right front tire and makes you a bit much more tighter. The reason drivers like the bottom a lot more is it's a bit more even in that wear for the long run.
And the 88 again is very committed to this, whereas Washington behind, maybe a half a lane up in some of the corners here. So not as committed to go all the way down to the very inside. Watching these three duke it out for the race lead. Jones trailing off from fourth, still there though. Good battle fifth on the back sees Caldwell, Stanford, and O'Connell lined up. But as we're side by side for the race lead, you can't take your eyes off it. Small twitch that time for Jacoby. Caution flag behind the leaders.
And it looks like it's Brad Bohr again, and this might be might be a tow truck for the 48. Just again, lost control off the corner, or I'd already made contact with the apex wall, and just ends up losing the back end. So Brad Bohr having a rough night here at Bristol, no longer has a front end either because of the contact he had with the inside wall.
It's pretty heavy contact. I think he waited a little bit too long to actually lock that one up, tried to save it. Of course, virtually little to no apron here at Bristol. The inside wall comes up quickly, and nobody wants to be the cause of a caution, especially when the race leader's got an opportunity to stretch their legs out and start going at it. So, of course, tried to hang on to it. Brings out the yellow. We're pacing at lap number 72. So let's go through the motions again. Race leaders down to pit road. Jacoby's the first one in. Freinage is on the bumper. Don't be shocked if the 88 wins the race off.
They're all going to park the cars, and should know because that's the second cause caution of the night for Brad Bohr. His night is done here at Bristol. So a big and a rough night, Evan, for one of the drivers that needed a good run this evening with the point standings. But the driver's off and away. Freinage takes the lead once more with that first pit box.
Yeah, it looked like he actually might have got it anyways, because he had a very good stop, but it was better than the three-car back up out onto the racetrack. Oftentimes we've seen Freinage be passed, but then go back around the car because he was in front at the line. So that was a superior pit stop all around for the 88 team. And listen, if I'm Jason Jacoby, I've been the one staying out, funning for track position. It doesn't really matter how good I am. Maybe that's a big reason why Justin, he was, at least earlier in this race, maybe showing to stay off cycle with the 88 because, I mean, you pit anywhere near him, you're going to lose that fight. Now, you know, if Freinage were to come down to the pit lane maybe third or fourth in line, then maybe that would not be close enough to get the race lead off of pit road. But keep in mind, we haven't seen him that deep in the running order at all tonight. So if he's second, I mean, it's butter every single time. And now the 88 having the ability to not be forced to work the inside and really having an opportunity to choose whichever lane he wants. On equal tires, I think he's a better race car than Jacoby by a small margin, at least from what I've seen through 74 laps. So really puts the three car behind the 8 ball here.
Yeah, I think also part of the reason too is, we talked about it a little bit, I think Jacoby feels more comfortable having to be able to play defense and forcing Freinage to try and fight and chew up his equipment, even with fresher tires, than he does on the equal tires, because of course, Freinage now being the control car, has a chance to take advantage of the clean air and pull away. We've seen how much he's able to run away actually when he is that control car on these restarts so far tonight. So I think right now, wouldn't be surprised if, say, we see another 10-15 lap run, let's say, to have Jacoby stay back out again, and we see this cat and mouse game essentially go on as the night progresses with 125 to go this time.
And well, the main players are Freinage and Jacoby. Let's not count out as well Washington and Jones, who have been pretty steadily top 5 cars for the get-go. But behind them, I mean, it's the drivers who may have gambled a little bit, but big movers. Nicholas Caldwell is going to be P5. He started 17th. In fact, everybody from 5th through 10th position all started outside of the top 9. The biggest movers, including Fredericks, who's gone 23rd to 9th, and Matt Miller, who has gone 26th to 10th. So those are some of the biggest movers. All top 10 cars taking advantage of keeping their cars clean as we close in on halfway home in the Bristol night race. Pace car to go down it in this time. Expect Freinage to hold maybe a second or two and then put the right foot down. Pace car is off it in. He'll hold the 3 car back an extra second, but he gets going. Green flag back in the air and a fight for second now because Washington read that really well. He'll rocket up into second place.
Really good restart for David Washington, already able to cut off Jason Jacoby, and just like that, Jacoby is now stuck behind 2 of the Aegis cars, which will be a much more difficult task to say keep up with Freinage. It looks like Washington is really up on it as well because he's closing in fairly quickly to the back end of the 88.
Enters the quarter a little bit higher, dives low, and he'll go to the inside. David Washington wants to go for the race lead at Bristol. Freenach, who had been running the bottom, now kind of forced to go up top. That's the defensive line, but I think the 88 actually likes it down low better, so we'll see how well it plays out. He stays in front, and now Washington's in a tricky spot. If he doesn't get this position, he could lose a lot because Jacoby, Jones, they're all lined up behind the 88 car. They had a little bit of a bobble that time, and how about it? David Washington to the race lead at Bristol at lap 80.
And that was some hard-fought clean racing for the race lead. The reason Freenach lost that too, though, is he got too tight on entry apex that time by, then nearly slammed the wall, Evan, and had to snap hard to the left to avoid the contact, so has to concede the position. David Washington, a two-time night race winner in the past half-decade, is now trying to keep control of this field. And look at Jacoby, though. He wants to try and take a run at second spot now.
You can see the different lines. Now Freenach going to go back up to the out. It's clear that both the 98 and the 88 prefer to be down on the bottom, but the 88 went high to block the 98. It did not work, and he actually went high the last time in 3 to 4 to cut Jacoby off, but he returns down to the inside line. Now Washington stepping up the hill a little bit as he loses those fresh sticker tires, and he's now an entire lane up off of the bottom as Freenach stays P2. And you mentioned David Washington, the success that driver has found in the past here at Bristol Motor Speedway in this RealSimRacing Cup Series. Should be no surprise to see him out in front, but for the 88-3 duo that we were talking about a lot tonight, he came out of the gates there blaring and went right to the race lead. He's pulling away.
Yeah, he timed it up perfectly and was able to actually get the runs perfectly. So I think at this point, he's in a very good spot if we keep on going here. That's the main thing, though. And I'd like to keep a note, though, on what we're seeing line-wise, though, Evan, because this was another line we have seen throughout the week on the service. If you drive in the middle line to the middle to top line, it's actually been faster a little bit than running up towards the wall. And you can see Washington is using that to try and gain an extra tenth a lap now on that battle second on back.
Yeah, Dylan Jones really applying the pressure here. He'll also go inside. So it's Washington middle, Freenach low, Jacoby high, Jones low. That's the makeup showing you.
A bunch of cars around to the bottom of the racetrack, right for the leaders. And that was nearly disaster, Evan. That was a multi-car incident. McClendon, Cadell, and Kamer nearly caused a big one.
And McClendon got into the back of the 69 of Cadell. The replay will show this one. And it was just a miscommunication going into the corner. He just drove into his left rear quarter panel. And at that point, Kamer tagged him 3 cars when spinning down to the inside line. And of course, caution flag coming out because they were blocking to pit road entry. Lucky that was not a lot bigger than it was. But, I mean, 3 cars spinning sideways altogether. That was a tandem wreck.
Yeah, that was absolutely terrifying. Yeah, McClendon's going to obviously get the caution, I think, for this. But it nearly got a disaster. Watch Cadell. If you see with Cadell, as he was trying to get back going, he nearly hit Freenach's entire left side. That could have been much more disastrous for the entire field if he was another foot up higher on the surface. That could have changed everything.
Race off for the pit lane, 4 tires for David Washington. And again, pit stall number 1 is critical for the 88 car of Andrew Freenach. He may have fallen to 3rd without it, but it just barely edges out the number 3 machine, so no changes up front. It'll be David Washington. I think that's the first time tonight, Justin, we've seen somebody come down pit road in front of Freenach and stay there, and it's not like he gapped him onto the entry. I mean, the 88 was on the bumper. David Washington just nailed that pit stall, and first time tonight, it is a car other than your pole sitter being the first off.
Yeah, he actually had a longer stop than Freenach, a 14.9, which means essentially a very slow stop on the rear tire changer, potentially in the stall. The thing is, though, that got him ahead is he was able to, I think, find the pit box a little bit more efficiently than Freenach. Took it a little bit quicker, got in, stopped, and got in, go off and away to get himself back ahead. Now it's going to get curious to see how Washington controls a lot of these starts. But it's been a heck of a race, an interesting one with 108 to go this time by. And as this is all shaken out with a lot of the top 5, quietly Nicholas Caldwell's held on to 7th place, and his machine, mind you, that is a brand new sponsorship with the Point Racing Ford Mustang, a part of that university from the state of Georgia.
At Point University, number 2 Ford Mustang, 7th. He is, as we've mentioned a few times, one of your bigger movers, 17th to 7th, so plus 10 puts him top 5 or so for positions gained in this race. And I think critically is, and maybe it's because it's got the new sponsor on it, but he's doing his best to keep it clean. He's got some left front damage, he's got some right front damage. I think those are just what is to be expected at Bristol. Nothing's knocked out of the car yet. So we'll see how well he can keep it relatively in one piece. Everyone around him has got some damage. The 19 to 67, I don't think anybody has a pristine race car except maybe a couple of these guys up front. Washington, Jacoby, and Freenage are all looking pretty sporty. They have been up in the outside wall a few times, shooting some sparks off, but even that contact has been so minuscule, I don't even see any fenders pushed in at all. So the way it'll look, it'll be Washington, a control car for the first time. He had that such a good race start last time by being on the inside of row number 2. This time, it's his field to control. He'll be in front. Freenage outside of the front row 2nd, Jacoby 3rd, Jones 4th, rest of the running order, P5 in the back, of course, going across at the top of your screen. Let's see what the 98 wants to do, though. He holds back a little bit, green flag in the air. It is a healthy jump for him. I think he would have liked to if Jacoby could have gotten to the inside of Freenage. He'll try, but it should be the 88 car off the corner for 2nd. Yes, it is.
They had a bit of a scramble just behind, about 7th on back. Blake O'Connell timed up the start wrong and ended up checking up everyone about 9th on back. That allowed a lot of the drivers on top side to quickly get those spots. Now we keep on rolling forward as Washington and Freenage, the only 2 drivers in the top 5 so far, to mitigate to the bottom as Jones tries to attack.
Trying to make some noise. He'll look outside. Freenage returns down low. Look at the run that the 03 gets off for the corner. He'll dive to the inside. Now both of these cars working at lines into which they weren't running the last couple of laps, and Jones can't keep it in sideways that time off of the corner. So it'll not only give Freenage P2, but here comes the 3 to the outside. Jacoby wants 3rd. He'll take it away now. Jones went for a spot. Instead, the mistake cost him one.
He's seen the opportunity, he tried to send it in. The problem is, just couldn't get enough speed to get the said spot. Now, it's a smart thing, though, to not try and keep on poking away with how many drivers are lined up on the short run. Give it a few laps, get your tires back to where you want them to be, let yourself get back into a rhythm, then try once again to try and get the spot you lost on back. Just have to keep it going, though, on a decent rhythm. He's still inside the top 5.
He's still trying to keep him on his top 4, getting a little bit of space. Eric Stanford now up to P5, a race high for him as Jacoby trying to go the long way around again. Freenage, you're always going to get that run to the bumper. Watch how the 88 car pulls about a half a car length center of the corner, but off the corner he gets eliminated from 4 to 1. They end up just about on each other's bumper. This is going to continue until that 3 car can either somehow get a nose to the outside off or decide to dive low. So Freenage, for the time being, well, he has gone up to the outside to protect in the last couple of battles, is staying on the inside.
And I think Freenage is just going to keep on doing that. That's, again, his happy place at this racetrack. As long as he keeps on doing that, he's going to continue to gain more and more pace. There's a reason now he was amongst the top 3 fastest cars on the racetrack, the 88. But Jacoby's gaining time. That doesn't matter, though, as a caution is on the backstretch for Matt Miller.
On a couple of cars around, and they're still not going to be able to get by. McBride, Chambliss, and company involved in this one as the yellow flag comes out just past halfway home. And he mentioned to Miller, well, it all started with him and Rhett McBride. It was actually McBride who got sideways off the corner, and 78 machine got tagged. Shackelford involved in this one as well. Jeremy Miller, involved in this one. A lot of cars, and Clendon also got in there really late as he wasn't able to get by. That's what we talk about when the racetrack gets clogged. A lot of those drivers didn't even have a chance.
Yeah, they had no idea, some of them, that there was going to be a car right in the middle of the entrance of the corner. Just pinballed right off the inside wall, and essentially, just like a pinball machine, ricochets you up to the nearest angle, That time McBride, it's angled straight into the apex, and everyone just has only about a second to react and slam on the brakes. And just a chain reaction with Weekly, Chambliss amongst the drivers. And McClendon taking the last second shot as that'll happen too. Not what Scott McClendon needed in his situation now, with severe damage on the front end now.
Past halfway as Andrew Friedage leads the race off of pit road. Let's take a look at our Ford Entertainment Group, a midway race break, lap number 106 of 200 at Bristol. So this time through, it'll update for you. Friedage back to the race lead, courtesy of the number 1 pit stall. Jacoby ends up in second. Jonathan Cadell third. That will update because he's on pit road. So Dylan C. Jones ends up fourth, and Eric Stanford will be in P5, which will become fourth. So Caldwell is fifth position. O'Connell is scored sixth. Seventh will be David Washington. Eighth will be Shane Parrish. Anthony Fredericks ninth. And Thomas George will end up being the last car top 10.
Position still cycling around right now as they continue to go around to the pace car. At the moment, Fredericks is currently scored in front of multiple drivers. That's because I believe Washington might have got a penalty and will have to sacrifice all the spots. He'll go down the graphic on your screen. Sean K-List will be onto the drivers in front. Kyle Kamer, as mentioned, Fredericks, Andrew T. Jones, Jeremy E. Miller, Scott McClendon, Jeremy Renenberg, Jonathan Cadell, and Washington and Shackelford round to the top 20. Just one other car is on the track still, though. It's Rhett McBride rounding up the 21 drivers still at either getting repairs on pit road or circulating around the track.
And a notable from that, again, Washington penalized. Trying to win the race off with the pit lane, he drops all the way to the back. That's been a look, though, at your Ford Entertainment Group midway race break. FEGPC has been serving the iRacing community with custom-built affordable computers specifically built and tuned for iRacing. Your PC will come with everything you need preloaded so you can get racing as soon as it hits your doorsteps. Get yours today and join these 600-plus iRacers already enjoying a Ford Entertainment Group computer. PCs to fit every budget from $540 and up. Visit FEGPC.net and mention code LSRTV10 to get your build quoted today. Lights out on top of the pace car, and this is now a 91-lap contest. David Washington will restart back into P15. He's got a long road to hoe. Let's see if Friedage, Jacoby, will that battle be rekindled? Can Dylan Jones step in place of the penalized number 98 car and keep it a three-way battle? Stanford also in the mix. Watch the number 19 car in P4. It's a slow start for the 88, but he eventually gets off and away. Green flag back in the air past halfway as we start to count it down.
And that really bundled up both the lines, just what Friedage was hoping to do. The thing is, though, Jacoby got a better corner exit, rolling down the banking in turn one, is already within range of the back bumper of Friedage. Just needs to find a way somehow to get to the corner panel on apex and then launch off the corner, force Friedage to stay low on exit to be able to have a shot for the lead.
And here he comes, the 3 car all the way to the bumper, thought about to the inside, instead took a swipe at him that time, but stays in line. Here's another run, a little bit short. Again, Jacoby working the outside, Friedage working the inside. The 3's got that run every time. He finally wants to go for it. Side by side for the race lead as Jones watches on. Great run that time for Jacoby sideways, but he's staying in it.
And we'll have to see how Jacoby does down here. One of the first times here, nearly lost it off of turn 4. A heck of a bobble there and a bit of a save from the number 3 machine, but quickly able to get back to the top side to stop any bleeding. So it looks like he'll have a chance to now reset back again on his happy place, the top side.
So the 88 car gets back out in front, side-by-side battle behind them. It's for 4th position. Eric Stanford under attack. Blake O'Connell on the move. The number 67 car started at 15th. He's up to P5, side-by-side with a Point University entry outside line of Caldwell, who will get in front. So that 4A to the inside doesn't work for O'Connell, and he tucks back up in line.
And remember, Caldwell's been needing some strong points as well as Jones in for that top 16 cut line. So Caldwell's been doing what he's needed to do all night long. Battle for the lead, though, is on.
Yeah, Jacoby was able to get on the outside. That's what Frenage didn't want to happen. He was able to get it in there in the center, stayed there off, and it's exactly what the doctor ordered. Jacoby to the race lead now at lap 118. Frenage back to second. And is there some kryptonite on the 88 car? Jacoby has been one of the better cars this year at challenging the championship favorite. And now he tries to run away with the race lead at Bristol as Jones closes in, trying to make it a fight for second and third.
And the crazy thing then is they're about 0.4 of a second quicker than the rest of the top 5 in the rest of the field at this point. But you can see Frenage is not happy with what he's having line-wise, I think, at this point. He has nothing he can do but have to tuck back in towards the line. As long as he doesn't have that top corner exit while riding the bottom line, that's going to continue to be a struggle at this point of the run. And now, Jacoby is, I think, in the driver's seat having to defend against that top line. It's going to be tough to pass him if he doesn't give up that outside line against the fence.
And the true to character Bristol Yellows have been what have kind of deprived us of some of this battling for the race lead. But it's been a really critical track position off of the pit lane and race starts. But, I mean, there's a handful of cars that are in this one, and Dylan Jones wants to get to the point for the first time this evening to actually get out in front of it as the 2-car drops out now. Technical issues.
And Blake O'Connell has brought up the caution flag as multiple cars run in.
He was in front of him, P5. We were just talking about the 67. It actually just got back around the 2. Huge bobble off of the corner, and he tried to catch it, got sideways, and that car, heavy contact to the inside wall. He comes up in front of traffic, and Shackelford, not enough room to sneak through, gets into him, and those 2 cars, pretty heavy hits.
And he was trying hard, I think, to make sure he didn't first off get into guys like Caldwell, knowing how close things are for the postseason. But 2, just tried to save it. Nothing he can do once it started hooking with that angle. It's going to be severe motor damage. But look at everyone else. He's right now on that top side. Nowhere else for anyone to go. So Shackelford and I believe as well Jeremy Miller all get some type of damage in that incident as they were trying to lock up the brakes and avoid the Vegas Golden Knights machine.
Race leaders back down to the pit lane. Jacoby first in. Will try to win the race off of pit road. He's got it. Stays in front. Dylan Jones maintains second. Stanford third. Parrish maybe sneaking off in 4th position. No, he just got edged out by the 88 of Frenage, but it was a very slow start for the 88 car as Justin, he went too deep into the box and had to back it up. And first time we've seen Frenage make a mistake like that in a while, and I think first time tonight he's actually lost position on pit road, falling from 3rd to 4th.
Yeah, he lost 3 seconds trying to back up the race car. He was actually past the commitment cone just about. That's how much he overran the pit boxes in his sign, and now he is going to have to deal with a lot of traffic for essentially the first time tonight after being the control car for most of these restarts. Tonight, this is going to be a major test, I think, now, because it is so difficult to pass with this package, with what we've seen tonight, unless you get the perfect run and the perfect chance in either the outside, or if you're able to go pull off the slide jump from the inside. Gonna be very difficult to try and, I think, get back there unless he pulls a little bit of strategy here. There's still 74 to go, though.
You saw Jeremy Rittenberg's name up as your current race leader. He stayed out, so he gets a bonus point for leading a lap, but it will reset things. And as we expected, Jacoby leads, Jones second, Stanford third, and Andrew Frenage scored in 4th position. Also an update on David Washington, but 15th to 11th position from that last restart to his current position. So he is trying to make his way back through the field, and it was a point that I was kind of diving into a little bit there, Justin, but you know, a good handful of cars can win this race. It's pretty much a wide open race at Bristol. The yellows, the accidents, and all that only makes it more so wide open, but I mean, Dylan Jones feels like he was really getting going there. Took a couple of laps for the RealSimRacing Aegis Ford to really get on it, but he had made the pass on Frenage, had closed in and gotten to Jacoby just when the yellow came out. So as the lights go off in a pace car, I think he wants that bite right out of the gate here as he'll look to make a legitimate challenge for the race lead. It all depends on if Stanford gets to his inside, whether he has to deal with fighting for second or not.
That's going to be a crucial point, actually, too. because if he can't get that line that he wants to on the start to get that launch like we've seen Jacoby do, he's not going to be in the best of situation. But someone just blew up in the back of the line. We'll have to see if we do indeed restart here with someone without a motor. But it's going to get curious to see who's going to get the best start to try and control this field once more.
Well, it's all in control of the three on the inside. Right foot down, green flag in the air. Both cars at the outside to get going. In fact, a very good start for Dylan Jones. He won't stay side by side with Jacoby, but he's all over him down in the three to the inside, trying to challenge for the race lead already. As you can see, the sense of urgency this time by 71 more laps to go.
Yeah, that might not sound like that may sound like a lot, I should rather say, but again, it's a very tiny racetrack. Those laps click by very quickly with just 15-second lap times, essentially, on average. So Jones is going to feel a lot of urgency to try and do something. Jacoby nearly stuffed into the outside fence on that last corner entry, but look at Freenosh, he's trying to attack the bottom.
If Freenosh was able to get third back pretty quickly, Stanford drops back to P4, just ahead of Caldwell. Those are your top five as we run now. 18 cars total still scored on the lead lap, but Freenosh needs a little bit extra to get up and into this battle. The top two are pulling away, both using the outside line, while Andrew stays committed to the bottom of the racetrack. And get all of these drivers working the same fixed setup, so you can see Freenosh on the bottom, all the sparks coming out as that race car grinds against the racing surface, bottoming out on the inside. Now Jones will try out the bottom of the racetrack. He wants to go at Jacoby for the race lead.
Yeah, now he's going to have to try and see if he can get the bottom to work. We've seen it work once or twice tonight for the race lead. You just need to essentially take a lot of them, force the driver above you to lose their speed, so to speak, on the corner exit, or hope they make a mistake. Because it is tough to still try and clear them, or even keep it side by side. We've already seen Jones nearly lost the back end that time, had to get back out of the gas.
So really pushing it, and you saw the three car as well earlier. Jacoby nearly losing it as well, so doesn't matter if you're the predator or the prey. Everybody giving it 110% right now, and the distance between your top two and third has dropped a little bit. Freenosh just reeled it back in to just a couple of car lengths off in the number 3 position, so he's still there. Don't count him out. David Washington up to P7, continuing his march to the field. He's behind Thomas George, who is in P6 right now. But Jones, time and time again, wants to stay committed, try to make the pass to the inside. He'll get awfully close this time, but still a half a car length is what he's missing to really put the 3 car in a tough spot.
I think Jacoby knows he's actually faster. Jones right now is at the moment. Freenosh took that advantage back last time by. You can see the difference though with the line. Jacoby's trying to pinch down to the middle on the corner exit of turn 4 to try and hold up Jones a slight touch and defend from that position. It's going to be very crucial, and it's going to get very tough now because the lap traffic is still about nearly half a track ahead. If they reach him in during this run, that can really shake things up.
And the 88 is closing in. Cue the Jaws music as it is now a full-fledged 3-way battle for the race lead. Jones wants to make this happen desperately, and you gotta wonder, would Freenosh be willing to go to the outside to deviate from his line to maybe try to get around Dylan? Because if the 03 stays down low, going to be pretty impossible to get some inside positioning on him. Jacoby would love to see those 2 cars fight for second, because it would allow him to get out and away and at least get some semblance of breathing room. But right now, it's the 3 on the outside and the other 2 on the inside line at Bristol, working with some clean racetrack.
Yeah, they still have a little bit more space for probably about another 15-20 laps or so, give or take, to try and shake things out before they reach the back end of the top 20. But right now, I wouldn't be surprised to still see Freenosh stay on this bottom. If there's a major mistake from Jones, I can see him go up to the top and take the spot. But here's the thing. There's the chance that, as you mentioned, they fight for second. And what if Jones tries to fight and they both lose time from them going side by side? So I think he's taking a calculated risk, waiting to see if he can get a hole opened up by Jacoby, then try and follow Jones through it to push ahead.
Fourth place is now 4 seconds behind, but it is David Washington now in fourth. So the 98 car has recovered almost entirely from that speeding penalty on pit road that dropped him out of a battle for the race lead at the end of the longest line. He ended up restarting in 15th position. 2 restarts ago. He's now fourth and is running just a little bit slower than your race leader. So he's somebody that wants to caution before the end of the race to get back in it. If Washington was in this group, I could bet you he'd be pretty even, but that 4.3 second deficit that he works going to be nearly impossible to make up without a yellow flag. The trends tonight would suggest we still have a couple more to go, because this time by 51 laps to go at Bristol. It's not a long way as far as time, but it's a lot of corners. A lot can happen. Jones back to the inside of Jacoby again.
And he's going to have to try and hope he can get some momentum here. The problem is, this has opened up the door for Freenage. What he's been waiting for in that 88 machine has been trying that kind of mistake to leave that outside line back open. That's going to leave the second spot up for grabs. And that's in a crucial time, too, because Jeremy Rittenberg and Brian Chambliss are right up the road, and that will take away potentially the bottom line, or either one of the top main lines, depending on how they go. It looks like they're going to give the leaders the top line to take the bottom away.
And now some lap traffic. The 26 car on the horizon is going to force Jacoby to go to the outside as they try to get around Jeremy Rittenberg. Last car on the lead lap stays out of the way. Respectful job for him as he now goes a lap down. Freenage dives down center of the corner, though. The 03 wasn't able to get the business done. Let's see if Freenage has a better opportunity. He gets a great exit that time. Right at the door, but the inside's going to be blocked shortly. More lap traffic on the horizon in Brian Chambliss. So they're going to have to single file out to get around him. And there he is, Freenage to the top line.
And that's the advantage of being the leader when going through lap traffic. Depending on how much of it you reach, you can use those cars as picks and give yourself some breathing room for a few laps to take away any potential battles, because the drivers behind you are going to potentially know if you end up going side by side, you potentially are going to have a dangerous situation. So drivers are going to go single file. But there, you've seen that mistake for Jacoby a lap and a half ago. Open up the door again potentially. Jacoby's still able to hold serve as they get ready to reach O'Connell, along with Kalis, McBride, and a bunch of other drivers the next few laps.
Longest run so far at Bristol, and it includes the best battle for the race lead we've seen. 3 cars duking it out, but at the moment, Jones just a spectator. Again, Freenage got a nose on a left rear quarter panel, but wasn't able to complete the pass. He resets. He'll try again now. Much lower entry into the corner, and he'll ride the inside line around. Jacoby keeps his speed up. Track position Justin clearly not only good when it comes to trying to get around lap traffic, because you can see him coming and position yourself, but you kind of camp out on the outside. It's so difficult, and Freenage not only not going to get the race lead, but he'll lose second as Dylan Jones takes it back.
Oh, caution is out. There's a car on the bottom of the track.
That's Kayla Weekly right in front of your race leaders. He was sideways down low, and it is a whole new ball game at 41 laps left. It looked like Weekly got into the outside wall, got tagged by Jones, spun around, and there is your yellow. And Kayla Weekly very disciplined by staying onto the brakes, or he may have jumped up onto the racetrack in front of your race leaders. And now we head to pit road with less than 40 laps to go. Jacoby first in, Jones second, Freenage third. Could he go to the race lead with a pit stall strategy? And David Washington, having just made a big mistake on pit road last time, well, he's back to P4, right back in this thing.
Yeah, but look at how much of a difference there is car length-wise between the top 3 and the rest of the field. That's how many cars they put between them, and that can really help you if you even make a couple-second mistake. You should be potentially able to hold on to a top 3 starting position as long as you don't botch the pit stops. But I wouldn't be surprised, Evan, if this is the second to last, if not the last time we see these drivers down.
And Jacoby, your race leader, I think might have lost 2 spots. We'll have to see. I believe that at the line it would be Jones first, Freenage second maybe. We'll see how they sort out now that they're back up and on the banking. but it does look like Dylan Jones to the race lead, and Jacoby will maintain second. That was a matter of inches, and the pit road camera there that we have watching those cars come off of the pit lane is just such a great view. So you saw that one happen live as they're pretty much 3 wide coming to it, but I do think that is the correct order. So Jones, race leader, Jacoby second, and Friedrich, no gain, no loss. He stays in third. Stanford, however, fourth. McClendon, fifth. David Washington, we were just talking about how critical this yellow is going to be, Justin. He's probably the 4th fastest car on the racetrack, but he loses 2 spots on the pit road. Stanford and McClendon get in front of him, and any sort of hold-up off for the restart really would hurt the 98.
Yeah, he had one of the longest stops of the entire race in the box. 15.6, the longest of that stint by far. That could potentially, though, depending on how long he takes to get by Stanford and McClendon, I think take him out of the conversation being in the lead group by even just a second or two. So that was a costly mistake, potentially, from Washington if we go green, as Weekly gets the end of the longest line.
He will take responsibility for the caution flag and receive the end of the longest line penalty. If I'm a driver and I cause an incident, I would claim it and take the EOL, because something tells me there's a lot of penalty points coming out of this race at Bristol, and I think a lot of drivers had to expect that to be the case. So now we're in the home stretch at Bristol, but again, trends and just the way that these races go would suggest to me that we are not done. And listen, I'd love to see 35 laps straight to the end of this race, but I think we're going to have a couple of restarts, and when drivers have the opportunities earlier in this race to stay out and mix things up, in that case, drivers did it. Will we see somebody like a Jacoby stay out again late in this one, at least for the moment? 35 laps to go. Everybody up front on 4 fresh tires and fuel, and gearing up for a great battle for the end here at Bristol on LSR TV and the iRacing Esports Network. Can it be Dylan Jones? It's his field to control. His restart so critical in determining not only if he could get gap with the rest of the field, but on what the battle for second place will look like. It's an early go for him. Green flag in the air, and just like he wants to see, Friedrich will challenge Jacoby for second. They're going to be side by side.
And that's what Jones, I think, might have wanted to see on this start. They're going to hold themselves up a touch, and that's going to also hurt Friedrich, where he has to fall back to 3rd position. While he's going to try this bottom side, I think this is going to be still a hard, difficult task for Friedrich to try and get it to work. It just has not come in, I think, the way he's been expecting, especially in the mid-run. The top line has been knee line all night long for the leader to try and hold on to the position.
A single file out. Everybody now gets an opportunity to try to figure out what they have. Jones, Jacoby, Friedrich, 1, 2, 3. Washington, as you mentioned, was able to get up to P5. Stanford would be next on his hit list. Can the number 98 car make this happen? Eric's been one of the better cars tonight as well, so not at all to discredit the number 19 Ford, but it has been a small difference between here and Washington, but he's holding his own at the moment. Your race leader, Jones, though, was really loving that restart because he's way out in front by a half a second, and as Friedrich goes back to the inside of Jacoby, it's only going to help more.
Yeah, he is picking up pace and picking up quickly. On that restart, the second lap after the restart, had the fastest lap of the race of 14.5. He's taking advantage of this clean space and pulling on away. So this is a good opportunity for Jones. The thing is, though, he needs to hope the race stays green the way the pace is going, because you don't want to leave anything for chance if there's a narrow yellow flag in this one.
Kind of incredible that for all of the restarts we've gone through tonight, we have not seen a race leader get away like this at all, but he is 7/10 out in front. Dylan Jones putting the hammer down at Bristol inside of 30 to go. Jacoby still second, Friedrich third. Stanford now challenged by the 98 car. It's Washington trying to go to the bottom. Didn't work that time, but he is not going to give up.
Yeah, Washington is a little touch quicker, in fact, than Stanford. The thing is, though, again, it's going to be tough to try and pass. This is Stanford's best position in a little while because he's fallen back to the second group, essentially, on the mid-run in this race. Looks like, though, Washington is now losing a little bit more grip and is starting to actually lose some pace compared to that 19 machine.
So that error will cost the 98, and You know, that's how easy it is. One small bobble, you lose a bunch of car lengths. It's going to take him several laps to make up the equivalent to get back into this. Ferdinand still challenging for second, but I'm not sure if it's a realistic challenge at the moment. I think Jacoby's pretty comfy up on the outside line. You talk about other names like McClendon, George, Caldwell, Kamer, and Cadell. Your top 10 at the moment, all single file. Washington is back on Stanford, so second and fourth. Those two battles probably the most entertaining right now.
Yeah, and right now I think Frenosh is in the best situation out of the two maybe to do something because Jacoby has pushed up towards the fence a couple different times now. Just needs to, I think, force him a little bit tight, force him to get off that gas pedal on exit and lose that momentum for Frenosh to get the job done. But just behind them, Washington got the mistake he needed from Stanford and is up to P4.
He gets that spot, so now he finds himself in a similar situation. Giving those two spots up at a pit lane is going to be what really hurts him. He was even on speed with your leaders last run, but it took him until he fell 4 seconds behind them to get to fourth. In this case now, he's 3 seconds back. It is going to be very difficult for him to get back up here. Ferdinand, though, the 88 car finally, and Jacoby's into the outside wall. A major mistake by Jason Jacoby. I know we've been into the outside wall a few times tonight, but that was a hard hit.
It looked like he just overcorrected. He got that slight bobble was mentioning that we've mentioned a lot of times off the corner and just absolutely snapped towards the fence. So that is going to be significant damage, I think. That will affect the downforce on the car and make him actually a little bit more slower now and might take him out of the conversation for the race win because he is now a couple tenths a lap off the pace to the top two with that.
It's tough, and this is going to bring him back. Washington probably going to get him before the end of this run. This thing's got a chance to go the distance. Dylan Jones, your race leader, 0.8 of a second in front. Now he has to really lock in, starting to catch up to lapped cars. Sometimes you'll find just one of them. They'll get out of the way. It's nice and easy and painless. Sometimes, well, they're not as cooperative. And sometimes you get a handful of them. So what is Dylan Jones going to have to deal with? The 10 cars staying to the outside. That's Caleb Weekly. It'll be nice and easy on the inside line. Dylan Jones gets on through. But with Ferdinand in second, he can't lollygag. Getting around these cars, he's got to stay on it because you know the 88's going to be pushing.
Yeah, right now that 88 is actually pushing a tenth of a lap quicker. So at this point, if you're Jones, you're hoping you clear by at least a lap car a corner. If you stay side by side, it's like the battle for positions we've seen many times in the back, up at the front group. You end up losing a few tenths off the bottom. So Jones is going to need to hope he clears these drivers quickly and efficiently because he's just lost a lot of time down to 0.4 of a second the gap after taking some time to get by Chambliss and Jeremy Rittenberg.
Ferdinand will get there if he can keep this rate now. Look at the 03 car up on the outside. Ferdinand goes low. So those are the preferred lines for these cars. Of course, when they get in traffic, it would benefit the 03 if the traffic stayed low. It would benefit Ferdinand if the traffic stayed high. Still more cars on the horizon. Fredericks, K-List, not all that far out in front. Those are lead lap cars, though. So it's not like they're beaten and torn up, wrecked cars. I mean, those are race cars that when you get there, it's not going to be a walk in the park. I'm sure that they're aware that the race leader's coming. They're going to get that blue and yellow flag from race control. It's going to tell them that the race leaders are coming. But the 03 of Jones is going to catch them both at once. And it looks like they're going to stay high, Justin. So now the 03 has to go away from his line, go to the bottom, while Ferdinand can stay low where he likes it.
You've seen how much more comfortable Frenosh was on the bottom that time. Gained a couple car lanes. Nearly got a steering moment, though, with Kalis. And now that's forced the lap cars side by side. But has also helped Frenosh, though, to get within 1 car length. He has got Jones where he wants him. Now Jones is going to have to play defense and try and see if he can try and hold him up with just 8 laps to go in the race.
Inside of 10 to go at Bristol, and it is a head-to-head fight for the race lead at the bullring. Jones low, Ferdinand high, so now they flip-flop lanes. The 88's going to get the big run off of the corner. Here he goes to the inside at lap 194. Both of these cars fighting for the win. It's just not enough on quarter exit that time.
And I think Jones tried to set him up to do that. He went to the bottom, while he lost some momentum, trying to get it where he can force Frenosh side by side, knowing Frenosh has been struggling all night to try and complete a pass most on that bottom and try and clear drivers. Now he's in the driver's seat to try and do something. 5 laps to go as Frinosh is getting slippery.
And now he's going to move up. He needs to make up the gap. He's lost it. 2.5 car lengths is the difference. He has to reset. He has to get back to Jones. Here's a hard drive into the inside. And again, he gets there when he gets into the corner, but off. The outside's the advantage. Jones now 3 car lengths ahead. That time into the corner. So Frinosh likes the bottom, but he's going to have to get desperate soon. This time by only going to be 3 laps left to go.
And right now, I don't think they're going to reach any traffic in time to potentially play a factor, so it's going to be between just these two. They do have to pass the 67, yes, but for the most part, I think it's going to be amongst these two drivers. I think for Frinosh to even have a chance here, he's going to have to try and go to the middle, not the bottom, and try and force Jones up and force him off the gas, lose momentum, and then try and go across him as they head towards the white flag this time.
Second to last time, but at turn 4, it's down to just a car length. Does Frinosh go for the bumper? He'll trace the line of Jones in 1 and 2. Jones is into the wall that time just a bit. Here we go into 3 and 4. Frinosh to the inside, side by side for the win at Bristol, but it is not going to be enough. Dylan Jones, outside line, hangs on and wins at Thunder Valley.
Heck of a run from Jones. He was, again, we've seen him all night in that top 3 from start to just about finish. And in the end, able to hold on after taking control of the race. And now gets to celebrate in victory lane. And this was, again, a needed points battle for Jones coming into tonight. He was amongst those drivers trying to get inside the top 16.
He went to the inside. He probably could have driven it in there on the outside and bumped him, but Andrew Frinosh keeps it clean. 2 of the veterans of this RealSimRacing Cup Series. Of course, Frinosh now maintains what was 9 race wins on the season. For Dylan C. Jones, it is a huge second win of the year for him as he tries to clinch a playoff spot late in the regular season. But the respect between those two to keep it clean in a great battle for the race lead, what stands out to me.
Yeah, absolutely. They are teammates, and you don't want to end up wrecking your own teammate. And with the way we've seen Frinosh drive throughout the season, he doesn't like to go towards the dirty route. He'll try and keep it as clean as long as he can to try and keep it that way and earn the respect and keep the respect of his fellow competitors. Tonight, though, Jones able to take the checker flag in a much-needed points victory. Again, he was about double-digit points back of 16th place entering tonight. This might, depending on how the points shake out, put him just around that bubble, if not inside the cut line.
It could be big gains for the 88 car tonight, and of course, is the 03 Dylan Jones the one who stands to benefit the most as he looks to get closer and closer. Now there's only 2 races left to go in the regular season. What we'll do is take one final opportunity to step aside, and when we come back, it'll be post-race coverage at Bristol. We'll talk to your race winners, get you set for the next contacts next Monday night from Darlington. You're watching LSR TV's coverage of the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series. More to come on the other side, where Dylan Jones is your winner at Bristol.
Once again, photo finish here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Will it be Tim Hogan? It's going to be Christopher DeMerrick at the line.
the most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSR TV, and it may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of RealSimRacing LLC and iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations. LSR TV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. Back for the virtual Bristol Motor Speedway, let's take a look top to bottom at tonight's Ford Entertainment Group full race results from the 21st race of this 2019 RealSimRacing Cup Series. Dylan C. Jones, your winner for the second time this year. Ferdinand second, and Jacoby actually, despite the big hit late, able to hang on to third. They'll be standing by trackside with us in just a moment. David Washington fourth, and Eric Stanford round out your top 5, as long with Scott McClendon to P6. Thomas George in 7th, Kyle Kamer comes home 8th, Jonathan Cadell is 9th, and Jeremy Miller rounds out your top 10.
Andrew T. Jones came away in 11th spot, while Nicholas Caldwell, who was as high as around the top 5, came away in the 12th position. Last driver in the lead lap was Shane Parrish. Sean Kalis was lapped to go to 14th, Anthony Fredericks to 15th. Brian Chambliss being the last car, 1 lap down in 16th position. Cam Weekwee came away in 17th after coming away to the stripe 2 laps down, with Jeremy Renenberg in 18th position. Rhett McBride finished 19th, 6 laps down, while Blake O'Connell was able to still take the checker flag. However, it was 29 laps down, mostly on the apron, coming towards the stretch.
The rest of these cars out of it, but still score points for their finishing position. So to be Skylar Shackelford 21st, and Matt Miller in 22nd, Todd Novosad 23rd, Brad Bohr 24th, and Scott Brotherton with the early problems finishes in 25th position. That's been a look top to bottom at your Ford Entertainment Group full race results. FEGPC has been serving the iRacing community with custom-built affordable computers specifically built and tuned for iRacing. Your PC will come with everything you need preloaded so you can get racing as soon as it hits your doorstep. Get yours today and join the over 600 iRacers already enjoying a Ford Entertainment Group computer. PCs to fit every budget from $540 and up. Visit www.fegpc.net and mention code LSRTV10 to get your build quoted today. Let's head down to Bristol Motor Speedway Victory Lane, where we are stood by with the driver of the 03 machine, Dylan Jones, your winner tonight in Thunder Valley. Dylan, congratulations on the win. Second for you this year, and both coming on the short courses. But just tell us about that battle late with Andrew, and really the battle all night long. Swap it inside, outside, pit stop, shuffle it up the running order, and definitely a ton of restarts to keep you guys on your toes.
Yeah, it felt like we were in a battle most of the race from the start to the end there, and throughout most of it, I was just I wasn't trying to wreck myself. I knew we were in a good spot. Some of the guys on the bubble there for the points had some issues, so we were trying to just stay in the top 3 there, and come down in the last pit stops there. We drove into the pit stall as hard as we could. We were either gonna hit the board perfect or we were gonna slide through, and hit her good and got out of the lead and just had to not screw it up from there.
You were able to hang on. Admittedly, I was surprised that it stayed green for that run to the end, but it seemed like you were running on the outside, so when the lap traffic would be up there, you had to go low. Andrew would close, and vice versa when he was on the bottom, and you guys had to go up to the outside. That it kind of worked out, but yeah, I mean, you guys weren't only one lane or the other. At points, you were searching around for grip, and that run to the end as well was one of the longer runs to the end of the race. So how was the run to the end there, trying to manage the tires, keep that car in one piece, knowing that any small mistake and Andrew would have been on top of you?
Yeah, it was definitely great. We had pretty good multi-groove. The bottom, I mean, you could get a run, but there was really lack of grip off. I think if we would have got a long run like we did at the end throughout the race, the bottom probably would have became the preferred line as Andrew ran at that whole end of the run there and caught us. And I think he probably had something for us, but it still lacks some grip on exit.
So you mentioned the bubble, and of course that's the big story as you guys came into this evening with a shot at it. 19th in the championship standings, a margin to the bubble though that was just 14 points, and after tonight, the points have you scored in. You are the cut after this evening. It is only a 2-point edge to Anthony Frederick. Shane Parrish is 8 points behind you, but you're in a playoff spot, and now the objective is to survive the next 2 rounds, and with Darlington next week, that's another racetrack with a very small margin for error. You guys have been on the offensive for a lot of these last couple of weeks. Now it changes. Does that change anything for how you drive it?
Not really. We just got to go out there. I've been trying to get top 5s here since we came back, and it's been pretty up and down throughout here. And Darlington's going to be a really interesting race and difficult. Anything can happen, just like tonight. So just got to keep the nose clean.
We look forward to seeing how that one plays out. It'll be next Monday night right here, LSR TV and the iRacing Sports Network. Dylan, but it's been a few weeks. You're back in full throttle victory lane. And again, most importantly, this win catapults you in the championship standings. Still work to be done, but it is a big victory for you and the team. Sponsors and shout-outs, all those good folks who makes it happen.
Big thanks to everyone at LSR TV for putting it on, and all the drivers out here for clean racing.
We appreciate you giving us your time here post-race for the insight, and the grind the last couple of weeks has paid off. We look forward to seeing what you can do next week at Darlington, and maybe we'll get a chance to talk again then.
Hope so. Thanks.
Race winner tonight at Bristol. Dylan Jones wins official margin of victory, just a little bit under 0.2 of a second to Andrew Freitas. But Justin, that was a side-by-side battle coming out of the final quarter. Andrew took his shot. He comes home second tonight. Still a good run for the 88 car.
Absolutely was in the conversation all night long for the race victory. Andrew, first things first, a thrilling battle to try and decide who would win the night Bristol race in 2019. Talk us through your perspective as you were trying to fight with Dylan C. Jones hard and aggressively on the bottom side all the way to the checkered.
Yeah, I was just trying that bottom all race, and we just never got a long enough run for it to really come in, and we finally did at that last run, and I don't know how I started catching him, but we did, and we went through lap traffic there. We were right on him, and once I got to him, he started going quicker, so I think he was probably saving stuff and whatnot, but that last lap, I kind of had a shot at it. I know he's on the bubble for the chase there, so I'm not going to bump him or move him. I really don't do that anyway, as you saw at Watkins Glen and whatnot, so I was just trying to run him down. I wish we had a little longer of a run, and I wish I didn't slide through my box. It would have been a little different, but congrats to him. He drove the wheels off. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a crazy race, and as you mentioned, now Jones actually on the bubble by 2 points in this one. You mentioned, though, the difficulty with the bottom not coming in until that long run to finish off the race tonight. How difficult was it to try and maintain and try and battle for positions, because we've seen a couple times Jacoby try and stay out and end up being able to hold you up while he was riding the top line while you tried to rim ride along the bottom apex entry and off.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just the bottom saves tires. So I was banking on a longer, and we just, we couldn't really get into it. We get 10, 20 lap runs until the last 2 runs there. And I think you saw me and Jones ran down Jacoby. That must have been a fun race to watch because we were all sitting there, and even when we did catch him, it was just still really hard to pass on the bottom. I think this new tire model kind of took away the line I used to run here. Usually the bottom I could even pull away, but it wasn't the case tonight. So it was just kind of mind your P's and Q's, save the tires on the bottom, and just hope we got a long run, which we did, and I still didn't have enough. Again, Dylan drove a hell of a race, and I really didn't have anything for him in those last few laps.
Now, as we head towards Darlington for 125 laps, should be an absolute thrower there. Talk us through your perspective again, going to Darlington, first time with the draft package, at that very difficult to place, where of course it's known for its amount of stripes on the right side of the cars, with how drivers touch the wall. Your thoughts heading into Darlington for the first time this season?
Well, if you asked me last year, I'd say really confident. I think we won that race last year and led every lap. So But it's a different beast this year. I haven't run any laps personally, but I heard someone say you could floor it the whole way around. So, not really excited about that. I hope the tire wear is really bad and you actually can save it, but it doesn't sound like it. So, we're pretty much just coasting into the chase now. My focus is on that first race, and we're gonna come out and try to pick up wins. But if not, it's not really a big deal. We're kind of looking forward to the chase we locked in a few weeks ago. So.
Yeah, all top 10 drivers, in fact, locked into the playoffs now, entering tonight, still the same case, exiting tonight's thrower here at Thunder Valley. But before we let you go, is there anyone you want to thank for being a part of your top 3 finish, which overall is your now 17th top 5 finish in 21 starts?
Yeah, having a good year, huh? I want to say thanks to Dylan Jones, and again, congrats on the win. Dave Washington wouldn't be here without him. Eric for putting the paint on. Kyle, Sean, Shane. I know there's plenty of people I'm forgetting on this team, but everybody on Aegis. Daniel Everhart. All the fans are watching. You guys are broadcasting. Just everybody involved. All the drivers. I really had a fun time, especially when I got those runs later in the race, and that's about it.
Congratulations on the congratulations on the second, rather, I should say, Andrew. Heck of a race tonight. We'll see what you have at Darlington.
Hey, thanks so much, guys. Have a good week.
And that was Andrew Freenosh coming away second tonight. Heck of a battle between him and Jones, Evan. But of course, you got to remember there was a third banana, so to speak. That was Jason Jacoby.
Jason Jacoby had a really good run tonight, and it is going to finish in third for him. And I guess considering the car smacking the wall late, third isn't all that bad. But when you consider how good the race car was all night long, Jason maybe wanting a little bit more out of this one.
Evan, yes, sir. So I was telling Andrew and Dylan, and congrats to Dylan. It's great to see him back in victory lane here, and always great racing with those two and everyone else in the league as well. However, I was telling Andrew I was running like kind of a teaser line when I was out front, so I wasn't really pushing it all as much as the car had in it. And running that teaser line, I kind of got accustomed to it. And then once Dylan got the lead after pit stops, I was missing the fast line, and Dylan also, he found something out. It was crazy. It was really cool. And when I got the wall twice, the second time was the hardest hit, but first time I didn't even need to. I was just kind of hanging it out there when I didn't need to, and still got the wall. And after that, it was kind of waiting for Andrew to catch me. And then after that, I tried to stay on Andrew's outside. I gassed up and put her in the wall. But other than that, like you said, I'm really happy to get a third place. It's a really good finish considering everyone we're racing with, and I enjoy it as always.
Of course, the scenario for you and Andrew really a lot different than it was, as you mentioned, for Dylan, the race winner tonight. He's fighting for his playoff life, and tonight actually bumps him up to 16th in the championship standings. The really only concern for you is how many bonus points you get to start the round of 16 with, locked into the playoffs already, and of course, learn a bit more tonight. Bristol not on the calendar later, so I don't know how much translates through, but I mean, Darlington's another rough and tough racetrack. Drives very differently than Bristol, but kind of the same reputation that this racetrack has. And an off week, and I encourage you to enjoy it because we'll have Indianapolis and then all the 10 weeks of the playoffs immediately following that. But I mean, what is out there still to learn before we really kick it into high gear and you fight for the hardware?
That's a really good question, Evan. I need to find out what it takes to kind of finish these things out with more wins, because there was a hot streak I was on earlier in the season, and not just for RSR, but any type of iRacing that I did. And I kind of fell out of that mindset that got me all that success. So if I can just, get myself back into where I can click off wins and be faster, that's the main thing. Other than that, though, Andrew's got speed every week. You hardly see him miss a mark at all. And Dylan, he's gotten faster since he came back and showing the potential that he's had ever since I was not running RSR last year and watched some of the races on LSR TV. And so really, I just need to run better, and I just got to get myself in the right mindset to do that. So hopefully I can. And just huge thanks to iRacing for this amazing simulation we can all have fun on and get to do this stuff and talk with you, Evan. And speaking of Darlington, right quick, Darlington, I think that was the first race I won in a broadcast with you a couple of years ago. And that's one of my best tracks since then, and so hopefully I can carry that success over next week.
It should be a fun one as that one comes up for the 22nd race of the season as it continues to heat up, but tonight will keep your mark as the second most top fives out of anybody so far this season, and hopefully improving on that next week as well. But as always, when you guys finish up front, Jason, we appreciate your time. Again, congrats on a good result, and we'll see what next week brings.
Thank you guys. I appreciate y'all, and everyone watching. Thank you so much. You guys have a great night. FEGPC.net for the lowest prices anywhere on the internet for brand new PCs to iRace. Thank y'all.
The third place finisher tonight from Thunder Valley. Big thanks not only to Jason, but as well Andrew Friedage, Dylan Jones, as always, our top three for giving us some time post-race to chat about all the action that happened down there trackside. And again, we'd kind of thought that David was going to get Jason Jacoby there at the end. Just it wasn't the case. He hangs on for third. A good night for David Washington. Mistakes. Maybe sliding to the box. Maybe that was what cost Friedage. Jacoby eventually getting the lines mixed up a little bit. Maybe that cost him. Washington's penalty on pit road, that may have cost him. Dylan Jones's victory may be chalked up to a combination of speed and discipline.
Absolutely, as well as proper track position, because not only that, he put himself in position to take advantage of the mistakes from his competitors. Because say if you're back in the rear end of the top 10, we're talking about a completely different storyline at this point. He needed to keep up the speed to be able to compete and wait for his competitors to make mistakes. That's what he did, and that's what I think in part, and was a big part, in fact, that got him the checker flag this evening here, Evan. But it's going to be interesting to see what we have at Darlington, because it really perked my eyes to hear the description of what Friedage was expecting driving-wise at that racetrack.
It will be interesting. Darlington's a fun race anyways, the margin of error, but you're talking about maybe full throttle at the Lady to Black. It could be some insane racing, and you're not going to want to miss that one. That one coming up, of course, next Monday night. Until then, though, that's it for us here tonight. Round number 21 falls into our rear view mirror as we say good night from Thunder Valley. I want to say thanks on behalf of our entire team at LSR TV, the folks behind the scenes, and for your broadcast team tonight. For myself, Evan Pasoko, for Justin Prince and Brett Wheeler, I want to thank you for tuning in and to congratulate Dylan C. Jones, not only a two-time winner, but a playoff driver now with just 2 weeks left to go in a regular season. The march onward continues next week. That one Monday, August the 26th. For the virtual Darlington Raceway. That race and every race of the 2019 Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series, powered by Sim Racers for Mental Health, can be found right here on LSR TV and the iRacing Esports Network. Until next time, good night from Bristol.